This week is today is Monday the 22nd of July 2024. This week on Thursday there's a BidX1 auction. That's an online property auction. BidX1 auctions and other online property auctions have become quite popular, and I get quite a lot of queries about them. I have made a couple of videos already, and I have them on my YouTube channel about online property auctions and the dangers of said auctions, BidX1 and others. There's Gibsons and there's a few other providers or organisers of online auctions. And I've also made one about the advisability of getting a legal pack review done. I do legal pack reviews. I've also given or made a video about the advisability of doing that. And the reason for that is very simple. When you buy a property at an online auction, BidX1 or anywhere else, you buy the property in the condition that it's in, and you buy it with any legal title infirmities or imperfections or problems or flaws that are in it as well. So you've no way of backing out, quite frankly. If you back out, firstly, you're going to lose your deposit. Secondly, you're going to run the risk of being sued for specific performance. That mightn't happen, but you'll definitely lose your deposit, your contract deposit. So, and that's 10% of the property price. So it's very, very important, if you're going to buy at a BidX1 auction or any other online property auction, to do your due diligence first. That includes legal due diligence and property due diligence itself. In other words, the structural soundness and integrity of the property. This week though, and this video is actually about my decision to bid and actually register and bid on a property or properties this week at the BidX1 auction. Today, remember, is Monday, so over the last few days, just since Friday, I have been looking at the legal pack that's online for the properties that I'm interested in. I've had a look at them, and I can see the difficulties or problems that would frighten away most people in those legal packs. However, the problems that are in them are problems that I can solve or fix because I'm a solicitor and because I understand what's available and what's being offered and so on and so forth. I can understand the defects or infirmities or imperfections and any flaws in title, and I understand as well whether it can be easily remedied or not. So later in the week on Thursday, I'm going to be bidding on the property or properties that I have an interest in. This is purely opportunistic on my view or on my behalf. And I think I have seen a bit of value in a number of properties, and I have an interest in them, and obviously the question of value and whether they're good value or not will depend on the price. So I have registered to bid on 3 properties. That involves me giving photo ID and a copy of a household bill. That's the anti-money laundering regulations or documentation that they would require. I've uploaded that there over the weekend, and that'll probably be checked there today. But I also have to transfer money. I have to transfer, for the particular properties that I'm looking at, €4,500 per property in order to bid. If I'm successful, that $4,500 is credited against my contract deposit, which is 10%. If I'm unsuccessful, if I'm outbid and unsuccessful, then I get the €4,500 back. Because I'm interested in 3 properties, I have had to pay €4,500 by 3 times, and I've transferred that there this morning. So later in the week on Thursday, I'll be watching the auctions carefully. Having said that, having looked at, and I'll have more experience obviously at the end of the week and after the auction on Thursday, but having looked at the way that it is apparently conducted, bidding opens at 8 a.m. on the particular day in question, that is Thursday the 25th of July, and I think it closes at 9 a.m. So you're looking at a 1-hour bidding period there, which obviously allows people to get ready, make their bids, and it's done and dusted relatively quickly. In other words, you're not sitting around all day watching the screen, watching bids going up by small increments or whatever, hoping that you're not going to miss something or whatever. Bottom line is, the fact that the thing is conducted within an hour from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock is very useful, because obviously even if you had a normal job or you were working 9 to 5 or whatever, and you're in an office or wherever you might be working, to be able to engage in the auction and not have your whole day tied up with it is very useful. So that's what's going to happen, and that's what's going to happen in this video. There's the BidX1 site there on the screen. There's a number of, this is the 25th of July auction, and as I say, that's going to happen later in the week, and I have sent my money there this morning, so I've registered to bid on 3 properties, and we'll see how that goes. One of the advantages of being a solicitor, I suppose, when you're looking at BidX1 auctions and BidX1 properties, is that you can identify and differentiate fairly easily the different types of problems that you might face. Some problems are easy enough to fix, and some problems are difficult to fix. Some problems are impossible to fix. So it really will depend on the property, depend on the title documents, depend on planning, it will depend on the boundaries, and so on and so forth. As I say, all of them or most of them have sort of imperfections or infirmities or frailties of one type or another, but no property is perfect, so there's always a certain element of trade-off between getting the so-called perfect property and accepting some less than perfect or imperfection in title or in planning or whatever. If you're a cash buyer, obviously you're in a much stronger position. So BidX1 auctions are on now today, and I am ready to go. I'm registered for 3 properties. Now, unfortunately, I was hoping to be able to show you some footage of the bidding and so on. That was the plan, because when when I had a look at the auctions at the weekend there, the bidding was to be between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. and that was fine. The office is not open and I don't have any consultations in that time, so I could have. Unfortunately, they've changed the bidding times to 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock for 3 properties that I have registered to bid on. So it's going to be difficult, because I have a consultation at 10 and I have a consultation at 11. Now, if the one at 10 finishes early, maybe it will, maybe it won't. I'm not going to rush it. I'm going to do the consultation properly. But it's going to be messy. It's going to be messy, certainly in terms of videoing the actual action in the auction itself. Maybe there won't be any action, maybe it'll be boring as hell, but I was hoping, as I say, just for the sake of completeness in this video, to include some of the actual bidding and the screen and so on and so forth, but I mightn't be able to do that. Don't know at the moment, and the problem is to change the times, so that's the story. Anyway, hoping for a successful outcome, but of the 3 properties, one in particular is my preference, is my preferred option, but the other 2 wouldn't be bad either, because they are in markets where there is very, very little supply of rental accommodation, and these would be actually ideal for that. So we'll see what happens later on. Okay, 4 tips for buying at BidX1 auction. 1, the vast majority of the sales at the BidX1 auction, or indeed most other online auctions, in my experience, are receiver sales. And what you need to take from that is that the receiver is a willing seller, not a tire kicker. He's a lot of stuff, a lot of properties, a lot of debt to deal with, and he is a willing seller. That's not to say you're going to get the place for nothing. You won't, but there's a good chance you'll get good value. Sometimes you might even get a bargain. The other thing though is that the bargain or getting good value will depend very much on any other parties that might be interested. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2, you must be a cash buyer. If you think, or if you need money from a lender, then you're probably wasting your time. It's not really going to work. Theoretically, you could But the reality is it's not going to happen. So you need to be a cash buyer. That's the second tip. The third tip I would give would be that you get legal title, the legal pack, examined and reviewed by a solicitor before the auction, because you really don't know what legal difficulties you may run into. And one of them would be, for example, the property being occupied, in other words, being sold subject to an occupant being in the premises on terms unknown, etc. That can happen, and getting an occupant out of a premises can be very, very difficult, and sometimes receivers will simply have enough and sell the property as is, and you take your chances. But it's in the legal pack, so you need to check the legal pack, get a solicitor to look at that first. Fourth thing you need to be concerned about is getting vacant possession. So sometimes receivers will sell properties with an occupant, and they'll put a special condition in the contract saying being sold with the occupant on terms unknown or something of that nature. But the bottom line is the receiver is selling it as it is. He's putting it in the contract, or his solicitor is. You're on notice that there's an occupant, and getting an occupant out of a property can be difficult. So you need to be aware of that. So 1, you need to be a cash buyer. 2, check the legal pack. 3, make sure you're getting vacant possession. And 4, what the hell was the fourth one? Have the legal pack checked. You need to be a cash buyer. Make sure you're getting vacant possession. And the good news is receivers are willing sellers. And by that I mean they have a lot of stuff to deal with, they have a lot of debt to deal with, they have a lot of properties to deal with, and they are willing sellers. There's a good chance, therefore, that you might get a bit of value. There's a chance then you'll get a good bargain sometimes, and there's also a chance that you're going to get 2 or 3 lads going after the same property, in which case you mightn't get value at all. It could be pulled up, as it were. It could be bid up to stupid levels. But by and large, you're dealing with not some sort of a tire kicker, as you might have. Sometimes you'll have a person maybe putting a property on the market to test the market. In this case, you are looking at a receiver having to sell, having to get rid of debt, having to get rid of properties, and is a willing buyer. So that's an advantage from the point of view of buying the property. Hope you find this video useful. I had my own experience today, obviously, with the Bid X1 auction, and look, it could be addictive. You know, you're sitting there transfixed, looking at the screen, looking at bids going up, etc., etc. Thankfully, I did nicely. I'm happy with what I bought, and that's it. Hope you find the video useful. If you do, hit the thumbs up button down below, and you may be interested in subscribing to my YouTube channel. Thank you very much.